Hello humans! Today, I wanted to talk about this! I'm excited about this. I've been waiting to get one of these for quite a while now. So this is the Opinel number 13, numero 13, giant folding knife. It has a 22 centimeter stainless steel blade. These are a little pricey to get in Canada. Yeah, 265 bucks. Yay. But they're not too bad in other places. I think they're like 110 euros or something like that. Conversion plus import fees. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyway, this is made in France, which is kind of cool. We have a plain cardboard box. I actually kind of like this. It tells you what it is, how it gets collected, and then it tells you to check your local municipal guidelines for recycling. Like this whole section right here just makes me really, really happy. French first, love to see it. 22 centimeter stainless steel blade, varnished beach handle, ideal for barbecues and cutting meats and cheeses. Caution, the number 13 knife should be handled with great care. Carefully open and close without directing the tip of the blade towards you. Do not use as a cleaver by hitting the item being cut. We're not going to listen to that. We're 100% going to chop shit with this. Ooh. Opinel était fondé par Joseph Opinel en 1890. That's kind of cool. Apologies for my French pronunciation. I can't pronounce shit in English either. That's kind of cool. So this just says who Opinel was founded by and the year of founding, which, I don't know, you don't see in Canadian companies. You don't see in English companies very often doing stuff like that. So I think that's kind of cool. The whole history of Opinel is really, really cool, but the history of this knife specifically is especially really, really cool to me. Plain cardboard box, burn it, recycle it, do whatever you do. We love to see it. So the number 13 was never actually intended to be a sale item. This guy was designed and sold to shops to be a display item. You were supposed to put this at the top of your Opinel display, and it was supposed to show people how it worked, show people how the locking mechanism worked. This is the early 70s. I'll have specific dates in the second part of this video. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but these were not designed to be sold. However, Opinel did not actually tell retailers this. So they sent it all out to all of the retailers, and then a lot of the retailers put in orders because people saw this and were like, that's cool, and then bought them. And for a very, very long time, I think until 2022 or 2023, this was actually the largest production folding knife of all time. So there were customs that were bigger on occasion, and there are like one-off and weird projects done by companies as promotional items that were bigger. But in terms of pure in-production knives, this was the longest for like 50 years, which is just kind of cool. It has just shy of a 9-inch blade. Attention, le couteau numéro 13. Et la multiplier avec... Oh, no. Knife number 13 must be handled with great care depending on weather conditions. The blade may become blocked or loosens as the wood expands or contracts. That's very important. Carefully open and close the knife without ever directing the... That's the same thing as before. Do not place your fingers in the opening. That's a good piece of advice. Anyway. Now. So we have a leather lanyard. You can remove it or make it bigger or whatever. It's a little tight for my use, but there. It is nice to have a leather lanyard. And then we have the Vera Twist lock. This is the updated version, so it will lock the blade in the closed position. It's a little loose, but not very. And then you can open it up and you can lock the knife either way in the open position. You can see it's cut out for either direction. And without further ado, let's pop this thing open. Sorry, I was just going to open it up, but this is kind of cool. It actually says blocage on it instead of block. This is made for a French audience. Super duper cool. I don't have enough space to fit this fully on my screen. That is so cool. This is genuinely a 22 centimeter blade, which is damn near 9 inches. It might actually be 9 inches. So this from there. Yeah, so it's just shy of 9 inches. It's like 8 and 7/8 kind of a deal. It is shipped with some oil on the blade, which is nice if this was not the inox, not the stainless version. All we have, that's deeply stamped in there. That's actually really, really nice. Full height flat grind. These things are super duper slicey. This is very full in the hand. This is a big object. This is literally just a scaled up version of the Opinel knives, which is super duper cool. Nail nick for opening. Very slight swedge. I don't think... Oh, it's only on one side. Fascinating. So it's slightly swedged on one side. Not entirely sure why. Let's do my standard set of tests. I'm just going to slice through my nail. I'm using very, very light pressure. Yeah, there's a little bit of... Right there, there's a little bit of roughness, but it's really good. Along the whole edge, let's grab a sheet of paper. There's nothing that slices quite like an Opinel does, to be honest. It's such a big, full-height flat grind. It just slices exceptionally, exceptionally well. Which is super duper cool. And let's do our rubber cut test. I don't imagine it'll have any problem with the rubber cut, specifically because of the fact that it is full height flat grind and it has a lot of space to get down from its maximum thickness. But let's... Oh, yeah, like slicing through butter. Just the last little bit there. Yeah, with any like back and forth movement, it just slices right through. Absolutely, absolutely. Beautifully, beautifully done. Let's do a puncture test. I cannot do this vertically. I'm literally going to have to do it. I imagine this will do okay, but this is still a lot of blade. Yeah. So it's getting stuck around there. That's mostly just because of... Oh, wow, it did go right through. It does get somewhat thick at its full height, so when you're poking into things, it will eventually start to get gummed up. But you do have a decent amount of puncture right out there at the tip. This is big. I'm going to carry this. This is not recommendable as a carryable EDC item. Shocking. I know. But this is going to take up a lot of space in my pocket. I wear jeans every day, so we're going to get a carry experience on that. This is so fucking ridiculous of an item. Like I said, this was literally the largest production folding knife in the world for a long time. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. I am so excited to use this. It is very smooth. Like, I will say this, the Opinels are very well-made objects. It's extremely smooth, the lock operates extremely smoothly, the whole thing is well-refined, it's very, like, it's been sanded down in the hand, you actually have a fairly comfortable grip back here. Up here it's a little wide, it's a little big in the hand, but it's not too bad. Yeah, this thing is just so freaking brilliant. I'm going to carry this for a bit, I'm going to get more fully formed thoughts, and I'm going to get a proper extensive history written up on this guy, because everything I've said so far has just been from my memory. But, this is cool, and I am so excited to have it. Alright, I will be back after some carry now. Ready? And we are back. So I've been playing with this guy more on than off for the last couple of weeks, or more off than on, I should say, for the last couple of weeks. This is interesting, to say the least. So going back into their history, what ended up happening with this is during the 70s, early 70s, Opinel was expanding. Right, they were opening up new locations, and they were having their knives sold in hunting supply stores and the like across both Europe and North America. And one of the things they wanted to do for their displays in other people's stores, right? Because Opinel only opened their own stores fairly recently in the North American market, especially. So they would have like stalls or stands, displays in other people's stores, pretty standard fare. What Opinel did is they wanted something eye-catching for those displays, so they sent out the number 13 to dealers. And it was designed basically to sit at the top. Oh wow, that's super dirty. It was designed to sit at the top of a display cabinet, catch people's eyes, and get them moving towards picking one up, right? Which makes a lot of sense. A lot of companies will do that or something similar. It's not all that unusual, but what ended up happening is Opinel never really told dealers that that is what they intended to do. They just went, hey, we're sending you something. It's a display promotional item, right? So dealers were like, oh, promotional item. I know what to do with those. And they would resell them to customers, right? And it ended up being very, very popular because you have to remember, at the time, these massive novelty knives weren't super common, especially not in the folding knife space. They were more common with fixed blades, but this is before the 80s, right? Like the 80s had this like massive, massive expansion. Cold steel really took off in that time period. Even then, this is beyond oversized for cold steels and stuff like that, which I'll show in a little bit. But the Opinel number 13 became very, very popular, and they sold out. And dealers were like, hey, Opinel, we need more of these. And Opinel was like, you already bought one. Why do you need another one? Because Opinel was not expecting this to be a consumer item at the time, and it just kind of exploded. People bought them all the time. People really liked them, obviously, because it's massive and it's fun and it's just a good time. But it got sold through retailers, and retailers were like, hey, Opinel. So Opinel started putting them into proper production, not just as like one-off promotional items for the displays, but actually dedicatedly making them. However, this still has a lot of this display item DNA to it. Because it was designed initially as a display item, there's a couple of little areas that just aren't quite as well refined or aren't quite the same as for the smaller knives that they have actually been designed and producing for people. And a couple of the places where this is very obvious are in the lock. So the lock only works one way. The regular Variblade locks in the open position in either direction, and the closed in one. With this display version, though, it only locks going this way. It does not twist the other way at all. Right? So that's the first area where you see it and you go, oh, okay, so this isn't quite just an upscaled Opinel. Another area where you actually see it is back here, this swedge. The Opinel number 13 has an absolutely beautiful front edge swedge out near the tip that stops when it gets to the tip for added puncturing. It does not have this on the back side. Unlike regular Opinels, which have a symmetrical swedge going out towards the tip, the number 13 was only designed to be seen from one side. So you don't get the same markings. Right? And there are other little areas where this shows up too. For example, on the smaller knives, the model number is written all the way around the lock. Whereas with the number 13, you know, it's only designed to be seen from one side, so you only sell it, you only put your stamps in on one side. So there are little areas like that, which I don't find them annoying necessarily, but they do very much show that this isn't designed to be a everyday knife, right? Like, this is a purpose-built item, and the purpose it was built for was display, that kind of thing. Which is fine. It is not the end of the world, but there are a couple of areas where this does feel lacking, in my opinion, compared to a regular Opinel. Like I said, far from the end of the world, it's just something that I personally noted. And other than that, it's pretty standard. I mean, I would like if the lanyard was a little bit bigger. I can get my wrist in there, but it's very limiting in what I can actually do, because it is a fairly tight lanyard. I mean, that's as easy as just putting your own cord on there, but you know, everybody's gonna want their own thing, and I would have appreciated it if the lanyard was a little bit bigger. That being said, oh boy, did I like this experience. So, we have, go from there right down to the edge. So that's at the 12 mark. Just shy of 9 inches of blade length. The overall open length is, according to Opinel's own site, nearly 20 inches long. And yeah, this is a big frickin' boy, right? And for that, you get a lot of blade, a lot of belly. Their only, like, practical recommendation for this is, like, outdoor cooking, you know? Beechwood handle doesn't transfer heat, long blades, so you can poke on stuff that's on the barbecue, that kind of deal. Okay, I mean, I didn't use it for cooking. You definitely could, as, like, an outdoor chef's knife kind of a deal. If you're cutting up bigger fruits, like, or vegetables, iceberg lettuce, watermelon, that kind of a thing, I can actually imagine this being pretty handy because you can get all the way through in one fell swoop, and it closes into itself, so it fits in a picnic basket, that kind of thing with no problem. So I can absolutely see, like, this being useful for outdoor cooking, that kind of thing. I did not use it for that. I used this for a little bit of bush clearing. I used this for just chopping up wood, having a good time. I did EDC this for a couple days. In the middle section, you saw how it fits in my pocket. This is an experience to carry. If you are going to carry this, which you absolutely could do, I would recommend finding a Maglite cape, like a sheath, a belt sheath for a Maglite, and carrying this in there because it is essentially that same size. I would also recommend purchasing two, or not necessarily purchasing two if you're comfortable having one that's modified and one that's, or only having one that is modified and not living with the base experience at all. But me personally, if I wanted to dedicatedly carry this, here's what I would do. I'd get a second one, and I would cut it down at an angle here and here until it hits probably about 1/2 inch in thickness, all the way down. Then I would round over the new edges I've made, and I would probably taper this back a little bit, probably pretty aggressively actually. And then so that in the closed position, you only have, like, instead of having almost a full blade covered, I would probably cut it back until it was, like, covered up to about there, all the way. So you still get nice grip points, you still get a nice hand-filling grip, but it's not like holding onto a baseball bat, because legitimately, this is, like, the size of a tire thumper, right? So it is a pretty heavy thing to hold. It can be a little bit difficult to do some of the finer use tasks with, just because you're forced to hold this in such a big, meaty grip. That being said, the lock was extremely good. I use this for chopping through tree branches a bunch because it's fun. I used it for doing some cut tests because it is fun. I used it to stab some stuff because it is fun. Like, as a practical option, it's not great. As a tactical option, it takes 2 hands to deploy, which immediately disqualifies it for a lot of people. It's very slicey and not very robust, which limits its practicality as, like, chopping branches and that kind of thing. It does chop branches. I cut branches up to about an inch, inch and a half at most with this thing, just chopping them up, and it worked perfectly fine. Like, this does have a reasonable amount of chopping performance. The weight is pretty much right in that bolster in the lock. Oh no, it's a little more handle heavy than I thought. The balance point when it's locked out is, like, right where the lock meets the end of the handle, so the blade is very light and nimble, which is kind of fun when you're doing, like, cut tests and that kind of thing, just because it does feel so easy to flick around, which I was very impressed by. It is a stainless steel. It's not the hardest stainless steel. They say 55 to 57 HRC, which is pretty soft in the world of pocket knives, generally speaking, but depending on what they're playing with, it could be pretty reasonable. Yeah, I mean, from a technical perspective, there's not much here to justify the price, but fuck is it fun. Let's do some size comparisons just to, like, truly impress the massiveness of this thing. Here it is next to the Wee Banter and the Civivi Chevalier. As you can see, it is larger than both of them put together. Here it is also next to the Buck 110. The blade on this is longer than the overall length of the Buck 110. And a Zippo lighter. And then finally, just to, like, truly impress how massive, this is the Luzon Large. This is the big boy. It's legitimately dwarfed by the Opinel number 13, Le Géant. So, she's a big boy. It did, like, as an everyday carry knife, it's very, very slicey. It's very easy to get through, like, cardboard or anything like that, I found. The biggest difficulty that I had using this as an EDC knife, other than just carrying it around all the time, was how long the blade is. If you're doing, like, fine detail tasks, even getting, like, right behind the edge, you're very far away from the tip, which can make it very, twitchy to feel. That being said, it was not a difficult knife for me just to reach forward and hold out near the belly like you would like a skinning blade, or an ulu, right? And you can get right in and you can use that tip much more efficiently. It's still an awkward thing to use in that way, but it is possible and it is very much usable in that regard. So, honestly, this is a fun knife more than anything else. It's not super robust, which makes it kind of a poor bushcraft outdoors knife. It's not necessarily my first choice for an outdoor camping knife, although, again, as an outdoor cooking knife, this is, I think it would be fairly reasonable. What this is fun, plain and simple. And you knew immediately when you saw this that it was or was not up your alley. In terms of construction, it's very good. Lockup did not disengage, even when I was chopping this fairly hard through branches and into wood and stuff like that. The lockup remained perfectly good. It is very smooth. It's easy to manipulate, but it does take two hands, which some people are going to be like, absolutely not every pocket knife must be one hand. Fuck off. Use two hands, it's fine. And you can, like, I'm going to stab something. You can absolutely get it to open with just one hand by flicking it back and forth. Of course, right now that I'm trying to do this in my space, it's not working for me. But you can do it to where it will flick out and open up all the way. It's not locked out at that point. And it does take a very large movement because the blade doesn't have very much mass for... Because it's not thick either. Let me pull out my calipers here and just show. Because it's an extremely slicey knife, right? Like, if you've ever owned an Opinel, you know that they are extremely, extremely slicey. Yeah, so it's, what is that? Not quite a quarter, 115 thousandths at the spine. But the blade itself, I'm going to use something that doesn't destroy my edge, is like 2 inches tall. Not quite. The blade itself is like 1.5 inches tall, right? So you have a lot of space to get up to that 115 thousandths worth of thickness. And they absolutely take advantage of it. It is essentially a full height flat grind. The thickness behind the edge is extremely, extremely minimal. This thing slices like an absolute dream. If you just need, like, fuck off amounts of edge retention for an extremely slicey knife, you can cut a lot of stuff with this. Yeah, like, there's very little utilitarian reason for getting this, genuinely. It's a ridiculous object, and it knows it's a ridiculous object. I loved using this, though. Every time I got to pull this thing out of my pocket, it would just put a smile on my face, and it's a good time. And it did do hard work, like cutting through cardboard, chopping up wood, all the stuff that you'd request of a larger knife. This did okay on. It's just ridiculous, and I love it. Stay safe and have fun out there. Peace.